I want you to stop avoiding the real work in period recovery. You need to eat more and exercise less to get your period back. And this is what we're going to talk about today. Welcome back to the Nourishing Women podcast. We're going to talk about actually a question I received recently on social media. And the question was this: what are your thoughts on Vitex? The questioner asked, she'd been struggling with amenorrhea for about a year and a half. She shared she'd been getting her period back, but now it's only 3 months or so, and was just wondering, could Vitex, or as is also commonly known, Chasteberry, could that bring her period back? Now, I'm going to share with you why it's not going to, and what you really need to focus on instead if you have hypothalamic amenorrhea or period loss caused from not eating enough and exercising too much or putting too much stress on your body. And I just want to start by saying, I get it. I get it. When I got off the birth control pill back in 2014, I was very much immersed in that hormone health, holistic wellness space. And because of that, I feel like I had kind of convinced myself that my non-returning period, when I got off of the pill, it took me 14 months to get my period back post-pill. I kind of convinced myself that, it wasn't anything wrong with what I was doing. Actually, in fact, I needed to eat cleaner, diet more. I needed to exercise more. This is a time in my life when I started doing 2-a-day workouts. I laugh now thinking back to it because, my gosh, I can't believe I thought that was the problem. I was so stressed out. And yet I was so focused on I have post-birth control syndrome. I need to eat cleaner. I need to watch what I'm eating. I need to maybe try keto and paleo. That was kind of a phase of my life at that time too. I also remember thinking maybe Vitex or maca or adaptogens or all these different kind of supplements that are touted in the hormone health space. I thought that those would make my cycle return. And I think what you're going to learn in today's episode is that there is a time and a place for those supplements. It's just not specifically in the case of hypothalamic amenorrhea. So like I shared, I even personally tried Vitex, I tried maca, I tried all these different supplements. And really what allowed my cycle to return, and what's going to allow your cycle to return as well, is doing the actual work to get your period back. Hypothalamic amenorrhea is such a unique, specific hormone condition. It is the only hormone condition that is just directly caused from how you eat and how you exercise. But first, let's kind of dig in a little bit more to specifically why Vitex is not going to fix your period if you have period loss caused from hypothalamic amenorrhea. So Vitex is believed to work in a few different ways, or suggested to help the body with hormone production in a few different ways. The first is binding dopamine receptors, and that can reduce pituitary secretion of prolactin, which then inhibits estrogen and progesterone. And as soon as I say that, that should kind of be a red flag for you, right? Now, we'll talk about prolactin and elevated prolactin causing amenorrhea here in a second, because Vitex may be a good supportive supplement for that specific case, as well as there's a lot of research around Vitex supporting PMS. But again, today's conversation is specific to hypothalamic amenorrhea. So if it inhibits estrogen and progesterone, we immediately want to see that as a red flag. That is not something that we want to do in period recovery, because you already have extremely low estrogen. Most people with HA, while some can have normal lab values, most people are going to have below 50 estrogen when checked. And progesterone, of course, is going to be low because you are not ovulating, and progesterone is only elevated in the second half of our cycle in our luteal phase. That's why we don't use it as a diagnostic criteria for hypothalamic amenorrhea, because we know it's going to be low. If someone's not ovulating, they're definitely going to have low progesterone. It is only elevated in the second half. But again, we don't want to do anything to inhibit either estrogen or progesterone, but especially estrogen. The second way it's believed to work in the body is by binding to opioid receptors, similar to the way B endorphins would, and this can decrease the secretion of a hormone called gonadotropin releasing hormone. Now, if you listen to the podcast or you've taken any of my courses or online work, you've heard me mention the importance of gonadotropin releasing hormone, or as it's also known, GnRH, because why are all these hormones such a mouthful? So GnRH is really the first hormone that starts to be decreased in produce in less quantities in the case of HA. And that is what then leads to low amounts of FSH, LH, estrogen, and of course, progesterone in the body. So we wouldn't want to do anything that's going to decrease the secretion of GnRH since it's already going to be really low in someone with HA is suppressed. And we don't want to do anything that would prolong that recovery of your body increasing GnRH, therefore increasing hormones, allowing your body to ovulate and therefore menstruate. Vitex is also believed to contain many estrogenic compounds, but similar to the way like the birth control pill is not something that's going to restore your cycle just because you're taking synthetic forms of estrogen and progesterone, similar to Vitex, just because there's estrogenic compounds doesn't mean it's going to fix the very reason why you have period loss, which again is all related to your brain shutting down communication to your ovaries because it views right now as not a safe time to produce a cycle. Vitex simply cannot fix that. Maca cannot fix that. Adaptogens cannot fix that. And I really do believe wholeheartedly there's a time and a place for supplements. I actually really love adaptogens and take them myself pretty often. And I think Vitex is a great choice for something like PMS, or as I mentioned a little bit ago, elevated prolactin. If you have elevated prolactin and that is specifically causing your amenorrhea, that may be a good option for you. And of course, talk to your healthcare provider about that. But in the case of hypothalamic amenorrhea, it's just not going to fix the root cause of what's actually going on for you in your period loss. And honestly, I have even tried using Vitex with clients way back in the day when we first started our practice back in 2017, and really from 2017 to about the end of 2018, I would try supplements to see if it would help with period recovery. As you can tell, I'm pretty open to supplementation when it is supportive and when it actually works. And what I found time and time again with all of my clients is it was not the supplements that was bringing my clients' periods back. It was eating more and exercising less and really healing their relationship with food, with body, with exercise that allowed them to get their period back in the first place. So I stopped using Vitex years ago, as well as most supplements, and specifically hypothalamic amenorrhea. There are other times and cases when we will use them, because it just simply is not necessary. And why would you take something if it's not necessary and even potentially going to harm or, kind of prevent your period from coming back in the first place? It's just not the time and the place to take it. So if you're seeing information on the internet telling you to take Vitex for period recovery, I just would remember and kind of put up blinders. I would kind of view it like horse blinders of like, I just need to not kind of absorb that kind of information in the hormone health space, because I do know that it's so common to kind of follow all these different types of hormone health accounts when you have period loss. And that's great, but I just want you to always keep in mind HA is so unique, is so specific. And for you, what you need to focus on is eating more and exercising less. And if you are like myself way back in the day, back in 2014, or like my clients, I know that is the hardest part of all, right? I know for myself, I kind of got on that train of like, okay, maybe I need to eat cleaner or order all these functional lab tests or take all these supplements because I was avoiding the real work. It was really scary to admit to myself that I needed to work on my relationship with food, that I had terrible body image, and that I was exercising way too freaking much. It took time and a whole lot of courage. I know it did for myself and it does for every client I work with. But when you decide to go all in on healing your relationship with food, with body, with exercise, that is when you are going to see your cycle return. I promise you. If your period loss is caused from hypothalamic amenorrhea, don't waste your time with the supplements. Focus on the actions required to recover your period. Because I know you, and I know you were so ready to take action and make the changes required to get your period back. So I hope this episode inspires you to do just that. This is the actions you need to take. Don't worry about the supplements. Vitex isn't going to support you. Focus on eating more and exercising less. And of course, if you need help with that, we would love to support you at Nourishing Minds Nutrition, where we focus on and only help people with period recovery. I would love to help you restore your health and fertility through period recovery private coaching. Right now, we are booking for fall spots, and y'all have been in my DMs grabbing those spots up left and right. I'm so impressed with how many of you guys have been reaching out lately. So if you are listening to this and you also want to sign up for a fall spot for period recovery private coaching, so that way you can say confidently by the end of this year you're going to have your period back, and if you are trying to conceive that you'll be pregnant by the beginning of next year, I want you to reach out today. The link to learn more about period recovery private coaching and all the offers that we have will be included in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I'll be back as always for another episode next week.